Right. Let's start with a scenario today that I think feels a little too real for a lot of people we know. I want you to just imagine you're driving your car.
Okay.
It's a Tuesday night. It's raining, of course. And you're driving to some kind of committee meeting. Maybe it's for the school board, maybe a prep session for city council, or, just a really heated HOA meeting.
It's always a rainy Tuesday night in these scenarios, isn't it?
It has to be. And here's the reality. Your knuckles are just white on the steering wheel. Your phone is sitting in the cup holder and it is absolutely blowing up.
Oh, yeah.
Half the notifications are urgent logistics. The other half are these angry emails from people you have never even met.
And you're just tired.
Beyond tired. It's that deep, like down in your bones exhaustion.
Yeah.
And here is the real kicker. You're doing all this because you actually care. You felt, called to do it. You wanted to serve your community. But right now, sitting in this car, you feel totally disconnected from why you even started. You just feel hollowed out.
That is the specific tension we're going to unpack today. We're looking at a set of materials from an organization called FaithFlow Rooted Ministry,
Okay.
and specifically their campaign series. And I want to be really clear up front about what this is, and maybe more importantly, what it isn't.
Yeah, because when I hear campaign series, my mind immediately goes to yard signs, polling data, how to, roast your opponent online.
Right, how to win.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what this isn't. The mission statement in these documents is, it's fascinating. They basically argue that we have plenty of manuals on how to win an election,
Sure.
but almost nothing on how to survive one.
Surviving the run, that's a very different goal.
It is. The whole thing is a system designed to protect the person behind the public role. The premise is that leadership, especially in the public square, creates this very specific kind of pressure, a crushing weight that just cracks people open if they're not reinforced.
So if you're listening to this and maybe you're running for office or you're the spouse of someone who is, or maybe you're just leading a high-stakes volunteer team, this is the deep dive for you. We're going to look at how to stop that quiet burnout.
Before it becomes a public breakdown.
Yeah.
And we should probably define that term, quiet burnout, because it comes up a lot in the source text. It's sort of central to why this ministry even exists.
It's a heavy concept. Let's unpack it.
Well, the sources describe it as the hidden weight. It's this phenomenon where, on the outside, someone is succeeding. They're hitting their deadlines, shaking hands, smiling in the photos.
They look great.
They look great.
Right.
But internally, their spiritual life and their logistical life have completely divorced.
That's the disconnect I wanted to ask you about, because the obvious counter-argument here is, if I'm a person of faith, isn't church enough?
Right.
Why do I need a specific ministry or a system just because I'm running for city council? Can't I just go to service on Sunday and be okay?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the insight from FaithFlow here is really sharp. They argue that for most people, faith is taught as a belief. It's doctrine, it's theology. You learn what to believe about God.
Right. Abstract ideas.
Abstract ideas. But leadership is logistics. It's schedules, budgets, crisis management, personnel stuff.
And we usually keep those in two totally different buckets.
Exactly. Sunday is for belief. Tuesday is for logistics. The problem is, when a high-pressure season hits like a campaign, those two buckets crash into each other. And if you haven't learned how to integrate them, you end up trying to hold your spiritual life in one hand.
And your political responsibilities in the other.
And eventually your arms get tired and you drop one.
And you almost always drop the spiritual one because the political one is the one screaming at you.
Or you just crumble under the weight of trying to be two different people.
Yeah.
The goal of this whole ecosystem, and they do call it an ecosystem, is from pressure to peace. And it's not about removing the pressure. If you're leading, pressure is part of the job. You can't just opt out of the stress.
Right. There's no version of running for office that is stress-free.
No. But you can change how you process it. They want to address how that pressure affects your heart before it affects your decisions.
I think that's a crucial distinction. It's proactive. So let's look at how they actually do this. You mentioned it's an ecosystem. I'm looking at the list of materials here. There are books, flip books, music, quizzes. It feels like a lot.
It does.
Right.
But think of it like a three-legged stool. The source material says you need three things to stay standing when things get tough.
Okay.
First, biblical truth. What does Scripture actually say about all this? Second, practical application.
This is the stuff I like, the checklists, the how-to.
The scripts, the tools, the what do I do right now stuff. But the third leg is the one most people skip. Self-discovery.
Understanding your own wiring.
Correct. Understanding how you, specifically, were shaped by God to handle stress. Because if you just try to copy some generic leadership model, but you're wired for, say, empathy and connection, you're going to burn out trying to be some kind of command and control general.
We're going to get to the quizzes later, which I found surprisingly insightful, but I want to stick on this practical application part for a minute. The FaithFlow Campaign Series. Who is this actually for? The person running for U.S. Senate.
I mean, it could be, but the tone of the writing is much more approachable. It feels written for the everyday person who's stepping into the arena.
Like the mom running for school board.
Exactly. Or the business owner running for mayor.
Mm-hmm.
And this is crucial. The spouse, the family.
I noticed that there's a lot of focus on the family unit, not just the candidate on the poster.
There is. There's a core conviction in the text that really hit me. Leadership should not cost you your faith or your family.
Which sounds like a nice slogan, but if we're being honest, looking at the political landscape, that seems to be exactly what it costs. It feels like the standard price of admission.
It does, doesn't it? You lose your privacy, your family time, your peace. FaithFlow really challenges that transaction. They identify these specific stressors that cause that loss, like agency, that feeling that everything is critical right now.
High visibility, too, just the fear of public failure.
Decision fatigue, the sheer number of choices you have to make every single hour. And they also talk about spiritual attack.
Right.
The material doesn't shy away from the idea that stepping into leadership kind of paints a target on your back. Discouragement and doubt are treated as expected enemies, not signs that you're failing.
That's refreshing. Usually if you admit you're doubting, people just tell you to buck up.
Right. Or have more faith. This system says, of course you're doubting. You're under attack. Here's the protocol for that. It's the difference between a standard political book and this. Most books are how to win. This is how to stay whole.
Integrity over victory? That's a hard sell in a campaign war room.
It is. But their argument is, if you win the vote, but you lose your soul, have you actually succeeded? And practically speaking, a candidate who is whole actually makes better decisions.
Let's get into the weeds a bit with the books themselves. The titles alone tell a story. You've got fundraising for the beginner, grassroots field plan, playbook, stuff like that. They sound technical.
They do, but the content is different. Take the fundraising book. A normal campaign guide is all about the ask, how to squeeze the maximum dollar out of a donor. It's transactional.
It's basically, how do I get what I need from you?
FaithFlow flips it. It focuses on the spiritual awkwardness of asking for money. It talks about learning to ask without losing yourself. It addresses the shame, the fear of rejection.
So it treats the candidate like a human being, not a fundraising machine.
Exactly. Or look at the grassroots field plan. Usually that's about data, door knocks per hour. This book frames structure as a way to protect your volunteers.
Protect them from what?
From burnout, from chaos. It says, we need a plan, not just so we win, but so my team doesn't have a nervous breakdown. It sees organization as a form of care for your people.
That ties into the voter contact material, too. I was reading that, and the theme is presence over performance.
Yes. When you're knocking on doors, are you just reciting a script to get a vote? Or are you actually present with the human being in the doorway?
But can you really do that? I mean, if you have to knock on 500 doors in a weekend, isn't that just inefficient?
That's the tension. But the guide argues that people can smell inauthenticity a mile away. If you're just performing, you're draining your own battery and you're not connecting. Being present is actually more sustainable, energetically.
I want to touch on the spiritual gifts connection you mentioned. How does that practically work in these books? Does a fundraising guide change if I have the gift of, say, mercy versus administration?
It does, and this is one of the most unique features. The system prompts you to filter the task through your own wiring. So let's say you have the gift of mercy. Asking people for money might feel excruciating.
Because you're empathizing too much with the donor.
Right. You feel guilty. So the guide helps you reframe it. You're not taking from them, you're inviting them to participate in the vision. Whereas someone with the gift of strategy, they don't have that block. They just need the spreadsheet. Same task, totally different internal hurdle.
Okay, we have to talk about the music. Because I'll be honest, when I saw original soundtrack listed as a campaign tool, I rolled my eyes a little. It felt a bit, I don't know, gimmicky.
I get that. It's unusual. But let's look at the neuroscience for a second.
Okay, defend the soundtrack.
When you're about to step onto a debate stage or walk into a hostile town hall, your brain is in fight or flight mode. Your prefrontal cortex, the logic part, is shutting down.
The lizard brain is taking over.
Exactly. Reading a checklist in that moment is hard. Your brain can't process text well, but music. Music bypasses the logic centers and hits the emotional system directly. They call it an anthem of courage.
There's a song they mention, Through the Tempest.
And a lyric is, "Peace will anchor every step I take." Think about that. It's a rhythmic mantra. If you listen to that for 3 minutes before you walk on stage, you are physically lowering your cortisol. You're preparing the heart before action.
So it's not background noise, it's a regulation tool.
It's biohacking with a melody. It anchors you in truth when your emotions are just screaming fear.
I like that. And speaking of visual tools, the flip books, they're described as visual narratives.
Yeah, these are essentially storyboards for behavior. They're not text. They show a character in a moment of crisis.
There was one image described in the notes that stuck with me, a candidate in a quiet room.
Yes. The caption is something like, "Truth doesn't shout, it stands." And the image shows her with her phone face down on the table. Her Bible is open, she isn't frantic, she isn't pacing.
It's modeling the behavior.
We mimic what we see. And if all we see in movies are politicians screaming into phones, we think that's what leadership is. This is trying to imprint a different image. Quiet confidence, disconnect from the noise, to connect to the truth.
Okay, let's put this to the test. Let's do a deep dive into the Rapid Response Crisis Guide, because this is where the rubber meets the road. It's easy to be peaceful when things are going well,
Right.
but let's say the storm breaks, a scandal drops. What does FaithFlow say to do?
The guide introduces a concept called the sacred stopwatch. It refers to the first 90 minutes after a crisis hits.
The sacred stopwatch, that implies that time is different.
It implies that how you use that first 90 minutes determines whether you survive or you implode, and they give a specific protocol. Stop, drop, pray.
Okay, walk us through.
Step 1, stop. This means literally stopping. Pause all communications, close your social media apps, do not post a hot take.
Which is incredibly hard. Your instinct is to fight back immediately.
The instinct is defense. The discipline is silence. You have to stop the bleeding before you can do surgery. If you react in the first 5 minutes, you will almost always make it worse.
Okay, so we've stopped. Step 2, drop.
Drop. This is internal. It means dropping into humility. It's realizing, I don't have all the answers right now. I am not in control.
That feels like surrender.
It is. It's posturing your heart so you aren't acting out of arrogance or fear. And that leads to step 3, pray.
And they're specific about this. It's not an hour-long prayer meeting.
No. They suggest 60 seconds. Just 1 minute. Holy Spirit, guide my words. Give me wisdom beyond my panic.
It seems so simple. But I imagine in the heat of the moment, 60 seconds of silence feels like an eternity.
It feels like a lifetime. But it breaks that panic loop. It shifts your brain from reaction to response. And only after you've done that, then you use the tools.
This is where the practical stuff comes in, the 4-line response script.
Right. The guide forces you to choose. Am I clarifying a falsehood, or am I apologizing for a mistake?
And you can't do both.
The guide advises against it. I'm sorry, but is not an apology. It's an excuse. The script forces you to be clear.
And then there's the social media filter, the FIRE filter,
Right.
before you hit post.
This is the great tool for anyone, not just candidates. FIREF. Is it a fact? What is my intent? Or is there a risk? And E, does it edify?
Does it edify? That is such a high bar for political discourse.
It really is. To edify means to build up. Can you imagine a campaign where a candidate asks, will this tweet build people up or just tear my opponent down?
It almost sounds naive.
It does, until you look at the long game. The goal of this system is to lead with peace when the storm hits. If you use the FIRE filter, you might post less. You might be less viral. But the guide argues people are starving for stability.
It turns a crisis into a testimony.
Exactly. The narrative shifts from look at this messy scandal to look at how steady that person was while the building was on fire. That is a form of leadership money can't buy.
I want to circle back to where a listener actually starts with all this. We talked about the ecosystem, but you don't just dive into crisis management. You start with the quizzes.
Yes, the entry point.
There are 3: spiritual gifts, leadership pathway, and love languages. Now, I have to play devil's advocate again. Aren't these just personality tests? Are we just putting people in boxes?
It's a great question, and they're very clear on this.
Yeah.
It is not about labeling. You don't pass the quiz. You can't fail it. It is not a scorecard.
So what's the point?
It's about spiritual wiring. The foundational belief of FaithFlow is that God shapes people intentionally, not randomly. If you don't know how you're shaped, you will inevitably try to lead like someone else.
Like the sledgehammer and the scalpel.
That's the perfect analogy. If you are a scalpel-precise, quiet, detail-oriented, but you try to act like a sledgehammer because you think that's what a strong leader looks like, you will break yourself. and you'll do a terrible job.
And vice versa. If you're a sledgehammer trying to do delicate surgery, everyone gets hurt.
Exactly. The quiz results just guide you to the right starting point in the ecosystem. So if you're a scalpel, maybe you need the voter contact guide. If you're a sledgehammer, maybe you need the crisis guide to help you slow down.
It gives you permission to lead as you.
That's the key.
Mm.
Authenticity prevents burnout. Trying to be a clone of some famous politician is exhausting. Being yourself is sustainable.
And that brings us right back to the problem we started with, the quiet burnout. It feels like so much of that exhaustion comes from carrying a weight we weren't designed for, in a way we weren't built to carry it.
That's it. FaithFlow isn't offering a magic wand to make an election easy. It's offering a structure. It's offering scaffolding for your soul so you don't collapse under the weight of the building you're trying to construct.
It's structure protecting the spirit.
Yes. And if I could leave the listener with one thought, it's this. FaithFlow is about walking with people, not pushing them.
That's a powerful distinction.
The political machine pushes. It consumes you. It demands. This is just an invitation to finish the race whole. We focus so much on the finish line. Did we win? Did we lose? But the real question is, who will you be when you cross it?
Will you be intact?
Will your family be intact? Will your faith be intact? Because if the answer is no, then the victory wasn't really worth it.
That is the ultimate question. If you're listening and you feel that hidden weight we talked about, that Sunday, Tuesday disconnect, this might be the lifeline you need.
It's a resource worth checking out.
You can find all of this at faithflowrootedministry.org. You can take those quizzes for free. Find out if you're a sledgehammer or a scalpel, or download the Called to Clarity mini ebook.
It's a small step, but it's a start toward leading with peace.
Absolutely. Thank you for walking us through this. It's rare to find something that cares more about the person than the result.
It is. But that's where the real victory usually lies.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take a breath, drop those shoulders, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.